So, good morning and welcome to Datum's webinar to talk about the UK supply chain crisis. This morning we'll be talking about the causes, the consequences and the potential solutions. So just a few introductions. My name's Jared Mollison. I am the Sales Director for Datum. For those of you who don't know Datum, we help companies who've got a large spend on agency labour to manage that spend, to make cost savings, to make service improvements, and also to ensure that all the agency workers provided are legally compliant. The sectors that we work in as a business cover a whole cross-section of industries. However, one of them, the biggest one that we operate in, is the construction and house building sector. And as I'm sure you're aware, that's one of the sectors that's been quite badly impacted by the current supply chain crisis. So they've had issues with shortage of materials, so bricks, cement, wood, plasterboard, pretty much everything that they put into their end product. And as well as that, almost like a perfect storm, when they've been able to source the materials, there's also been a shortage of drivers to be able to get those materials to site. Then when they get them to site, there's again a shortage of labour to get them to finish the end product. So it's been an issue for them, but also across a number of different industry sectors as well. We're very fortunate today to have Derek Kilday with us. He's a Group Director for the Department of Work and Pensions, and he sits within the National Employers and Partnership team. So he's well positioned to be able to tell us about what the DWP are doing to try and help with that issue. Just a bit of housekeeping before I send you over to Derek. We've got an hour scheduled for this webinar. I don't think it's going to last an hour. It's probably going to be around about 40 minutes. Please do ask questions. If you just click on the questions and answers box there, put your questions in. I'll coordinate those. And when we get to the end, I'll ask them of Derek. So without further ado, I'm going to pass you over to Derek. Good morning, Derek.
Good morning, and good morning everyone on the call. Thank you for joining us this morning. Probably worth giving a little bit of background. So the request first came in to me from Gary Saville, the MD of Staffline. Staffline is one of the businesses that we deal with and part of the National Employer team. And we're asked to do this webinar today for your clients in construction and house building. It's probably worth saying I used to work in construction and house building many years ago, and I'm still fairly close to the industry. And I can absolutely tie in with what Jared said in terms of where we are in terms of supply chain crisis. On a much smaller scale, I was trying to rebuild my fence over the last couple of weekends, which got hit in the storm. And I was absolutely astounded when I went to local builders merchants, the price of wood. And the young lad behind the counter said, look, Derek, if you're needing cement, I advise you to buy more than you need. There's going to be a 20% increase in this from next week at the building merchants. So it's like, wow. So that really hits home. So if that's mean a small scale building a 60-foot fence, I really feel for you in terms of that. One of my neighbours is a self-employed builder, and he's been telling me he's had to re-quote on every piece of work that he's got on the books just because he's finding that it's just too far away in terms of what they're doing. So it's what I'm going to chat today. I won't come with all the solutions. First of all, I'll go through about what we do as a team, what government's doing, and I'll probably make a bit of a plea about working with the industry. One of the things that we know is there's a big real perception in terms of working within construction, some of the associated industries, and when we speak to people via our work coach network, we genuinely know that it's not seen as an attractive industry, still viewed as a bit of a welly boots and middle-aged men that look a bit like me working on building sites as opposed to people who have a BAME background, women and other people who may want to get into construction. We need to do a bit more to encourage them to do that. So it's probably worth me saying a wee bit about what the National Employer and Partnership team do. So the National Employer Partnership team, we sit beneath the Department of Work and Pensions, as we said earlier on. But supposedly, in a nutshell, my team work with a number of national employers to create that big impact. As it stands at the moment, we've got circa 104, 105 people within what we call our portfolio. That's the National Employers Partners and all of the trade bodies we work with. What we're trying to do with them is create opportunities to get people back into work. we've got some funding, we've got some training, but actually we need to work with the industry to ensure that we're getting the right people. The industry's working with us to ensure that we're doing the right thing to offer the right people the right opportunities to fill your vacancies. The strategy is tailored towards the challenges and the opportunities. Some of the things that we're really trying to do is recruiting people for new jobs. There's a whole green industry coming up, and you can tag almost anything into a green industry job. We've got a lot of new training programs. We do a lot in terms of trying to removing barriers, helping the most hard to reach. We really want to kind of make sure that no one in society is left behind, and we're working with all of those who need that extra help. And one of the genuine pleas with employers and what we've found out of our Kickstart programme is really have a look at your recruitment processes. Most of the recruitment processes, when we work with our partners, we look at them, and they're very much something of the 1980s, where we do a CV sift, first, second interview, all of this sort of stuff. And actually, what we've found recently is we've found that the marketplace can't really sustain that. There's so much choice out there now. There's actually more opportunities for young people than there's ever been, and more opportunities for people switching businesses at any age to get into a different form. So you're really competing as an employer with the whole of the job market, not just what you're providing in your own industry. So you really need to think hard about, so what is your recruitment process? Really start to lean that recruitment process, because what we're finding is if you've got someone that's the right person, if you have a 3-week, 4-week recruitment process, they'll be waiting in another opportunity before that 4 weeks is up with someone that has a swifter thing as well. So that's some of the things that we start to do with that. So what have we got in terms of reach? So we can deliver all of our work through our work coaches. We've got over 600 job centres strategically situated throughout the UK, and our work coaches in there really do that piece. One of the big things we do is disability confident. We're really trying to encourage employers to recruit, retrain, and really develop disabled employers. That's an area in the UK that we're sadly falling behind in terms of the amount of people we know that are disabled and the amount that are actually in full-time or part-time employment. We're really doing some positive action to support people moving into jobs in new sectors. I suppose some of the examples of that is setting out programmes to encourage women and job seekers from BAME to become drivers. And we've also got a women into construction programme that we help to support as well. That's an area I think we really need to get into a bit more. Let's have a look at the next slide, please, in terms of the supply chain causes and challenges. Thank you. I suppose this is nothing new. This is a global challenge. Like many other countries, the UK is competing with the effects of the pandemic and the labour shortages. So the pandemic, government put 400 billion in to support the economy right at the start of the pandemic, to ensure that people were furloughed. We did what we had to do with that to ensure that we did as much as we could. However, there's a real labour shortage, as you all know, in terms of what you've got there with the global supply chain problems. We're seeing that all over in most industries. Panic buying, I was saying to Jared in the pre-call earlier on, my wife was at the supermarket last night filling the car up, which she said they were queued around the block to get fuel in, and a bit of quick research told us last night the industry are reckoning that there's going to be a 5p per litre increase per day over the next coming week until it gets to some sort of situation because of the current Ukraine crisis. And we know that that panic buying affected the shops. We know it affected the supply chain issue. We've all seen the supply chain shortages throughout the summer during the latter part of the pandemic. And we knew that Brexit had some trade barriers there that had to be overcome as well. Labour shortages, yep, as we understand, there are acute labour shortages, especially in some markets, and we've got that skills gap as well. And if you put all of that together, you think, yeah, you've got the perfect storm. But then if you put that coinciding with the growth of online shopping, the people want it now culture, and I think we all kind of succumbed to that a bit during lockdown, where Amazon, but other brands are available, see something, buy it, gets delivered the next day. What we're looking at now is we're estimating there's around about 38% of total retail sales are now bought via the internet. And we know that because of that, it's not just the UK, but the US is particularly struggling with warehouse shortages as well. On the kind of labour shortages, ONS statistics are telling us that we've got the highest number of vacancies in transport and storage, up to 63,000. Overall, there's multiple sectors impacted by shortages, admin and warehousing, not just the front of house forklift driving. But not only that, the labour market's reduced. What we're seeing is job seekers turning away from some sectors that they think are unattractive to others with higher salaries. The industry that you folks are in is not the only one. We've had a number of sectors from hospitality screaming out for doing exactly the same. People are looking now and saying, this is unattractive to me, so I don't want to be doing that. So one of the things that we do say when you come and you work with us, and our plea when we hold industry roundtables, is really have a look at your attraction strategy. Don't just think about getting these people on the seats for this contract to build your X amount of houses or whatever development or you're something you're working on at the moment. Think about what you can do to make it attractive to work for you. What's the bonuses, perks? It just makes you stand out that wee bit more with it. And also think about some sort of career strategy. People are moving away from the gig economy we're finding now, and they're looking for something that's going to provide them with a longer kind of career gap. Skills gap, that's one of the big things that we're looking at the moment. And this is really important for us in terms of construction sector. We know that there's circa 150 types of job within the construction sector. I'll be really honest and say, if I walked into my local job centre and I asked my work coach, they could probably name 15 to 20 different types of jobs within the construction sector. But we really need to help you guys and girls, really need to help us to educate that as well, because they are the main selling point for us. People out in the streets don't know there's 150 types of jobs within the construction sector, and it's still that general perception that it's middle-aged men in welly boots standing in a muddy building site. So we really need is a bit of a plea, and we'll be coming out and reaching out to you to see if you'd be interested in doing a bit more work with us in terms of really helping us break that perception, get it out there, let our work coaches understand, let the community understand, let the public that you're going to be drawing your marketplace from really understand the exciting jobs that's in the sector. What we want to get is that aspiration where we have a lot more women and a lot more underrepresented groups having a look at that and saying, you know what, that is a sector that I can do. I don't need to be a 6-foot fella that weighs 14 stone to carry bricks up and down. We've got mechanics and stuff now that makes this sort of job much easier, as well as a diversity of roles all over the whole lot. One of the other industries that's been well documented is the meat industry. Well documented acute labour shortages there, particularly in skilled roles, slaughtery and butchery. So I suppose in summary, working with employers in several sectors, that's what we're doing at the moment. We're working with construction, food sector and retailers just to see what we can do around about those things in terms of really trying to promote your industry, get your industry on the front foot, look at how we recruit people on your behalf, look at what you do, look at what the service offer and the package is. All of this will take time. It's not something that we can do overnight. So can I have the next slide, please?
Shall I move on, Derek?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you've covered that one, haven't you?
Yeah, I think so.
And again?
Yeah, please.
Okay.
Okay.
Is that good, or do you want the next one?
No, that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
But go to the next one. We'll kind of skip over the next two. I've probably covered them. Go to DWP's approach, if you don't mind, Jared.
That's the one.
That's it. So, as I said earlier on, I touched on DWP has played a key role in helping deliver the government's plans for jobs package. So, £400 million support package. Throughout our DWP programmes, we've boosted work searches, skills and apprenticeships. We've opened numerous new job centres throughout the UK, and we're really pushing that. We've taken on 13,000 new work coaches that were on top of our quota that we had before. It's been good to see how we've been really able to help some of those young people get employment through our Kickstart, and it's sounding good in terms of that. So one of the examples around about Kickstart scheme for young people. So that's one of the kind of many government initiatives that we've done. So Kickstart was one of our kind of key ones in the last few years, and that was basically about getting young people 16 to 24 years in roles, fully funded for 6 months, and with over 122,000 young people started in jobs. One at the moment that we've launched was Way to Work. So 27th of January, we took a national drive to get 500,000 people into jobs by the end of June 2022. And the the reason we're going to do that is 1.2 million people roughly unemployed. Surely there's 500,000 job-ready people sitting on DWP's books ready to start to do that. So we're pulling them all in. They're having face-to-face interviews. They're having matching conversations with jobs. We're working with employers to list the jobs, put them all in there and really pull people and start to match it. So one of the pleas is to help us get together and do what we're doing in terms of doing that. We do a lot of round tables and stuff working through that. I'm conscious of the time. Jared, do you want just, is it easier now to go to some questions? Because once I get started on this sort of stuff, I can go on for days, to be fair.
Okay, yeah. We'll just move on to that. So in terms of questions, yeah, please put your questions into the Q&A box. I've got a few that have come through already. So obviously, it's all very well to ask what the DWP and the government are doing to try and address these issues, but what actions have you seen by employers in the UK to try and just address these issues themselves?
So it's probably been a bit of a mix, actually. So there's been a bit of a mix of domestic and international. So as I said earlier, we've been working alongside industry to support job seekers into work, and we'll really continue to do that. But in the UK, we've got a joined up approach across governments and departments. So we're really focusing on getting the 1.2 million been matching these job seekers to the employment. But I think in terms of that kind of international action, this is a global problem, and the current situation with the will continue. UK government need to be in talks to link up countries to avoid supply chain shocks. And I think as we touched on in the call earlier on, I think we're heading towards a bit of a perfect storm. One of the examples of what we've done recently, working with other government departments and industry to get tailored solutions, is we had a national shortage of HGV drivers. Now, within my remit is the licensing of HGV drivers and the testing and all the things that do with it. But we held a round table with the industry, invited a couple of ministers along. And then as a consequence of that, we worked cross-government to really change the testing regime. So they changed the testing regime, they dropped some of the elements off it, they put more driving testers in so they could get more tests through post-pandemic. So while we don't hold all the levers across government to make these changes, we certainly lobby on behalf of the industry with the governments that are holding those levers on the HGV driver crisis in terms of changing the licensing conditions to free up more assessors was one of the things that we were instrumental in doing.
Good, thanks for that, Derek. What advice would you give to the employers who are on this webinar today, specifically?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, just as I've kind of tried to touch on all morning, please work with government. Reach out to us about filling your vacancies. What we don't want to see is people being critical of us and not engaging with us. That's not helpful for the industry. It's not helpful for UK PLC, to be honest. The government of the day, reach out. We can help you fill those vacancies. At the moment, you are working on urgent problems, but keep considering the long-term solutions. I think that's the point I think I really want to touch on. We'll work with you in the critical short term to do what we need to do, but really have a long, hard look at how you can attract people with stable jobs in the industry, which allow people to progress, because all the intelligence is telling us that that's what people are looking to do now.
Okay, and just one final question. What's been the most effective action that your team has taken to try and address these problems?
Oh, I think probably in terms of the most effective action, that is absolutely working with the industry. Work with the industry to understand the problems. We alone don't understand the problems. We're no industry specialists. There's a few industry specialists speckled across the team and speckled across the groups locally, but actually each one has a local solution. So what we have is almost a localized plan. So every district has its own plan for jobs, because the industry specific problems are different in Scotland than they are to say the Midlands, where there's transportation hubs. So please reach out with us. We'll be sending something out to you. Jenny and the team will be in further contact with everybody that's been on the call today. We'd really like to reach out with you, have those discussions, potentially do another round table, find out what your pressing questions of the day are, and we can take it from there and really work with us to try and address these supply chain issues now and in the longer term.
Brilliant. Well, unless anybody's got any more questions, I can't see any more coming through. I'd just like to thank you, Derek. That's superb. Really appreciate your time for being on this webinar. Just to summarize, there is a recording of this webinar that will be sent out to you after this, and also we'll attach Derek's details as well on there, so you can get in touch with him. But yeah, thanks everyone who's been on the call. Thanks, Derek. Thanks, Jenny. Really appreciate it, and look forward to catching up with you soon.
Thanks all.